15 Dangerous Things Found in Cereal Boxes and Other Treacherous Toys. Part 2.
If you are brand new to our channel, we invite you to take a moment to subscribe. Just click on the lit red button as well as the gray bell. Why the bell? Well, it will let you know every time we post a new video.
9. Spidey Wristwatches, Frosted Flakes. In 2004, Kellogg added a Spidey Signal wristwatch prize to their boxes of Frosted Flakes cereal, in order to promote Spider-Man 2. The toy had a web-like light that went out after 10 minutes. While this toy seemed harmless on the surface, not immediately threatening to harm your child, the wristwatches had mercury batteries in them, which have been proven to have long-term negative effects on both children and pregnant women. In fact, they are banned in many parts of the United States. The governor of New York described the toys as a toxic chemical that can do enormous damage and urged Kellogg to recall the toy to reflect their recent law prohibiting mercury-powered toys. While Kellogg agreed, they said that the toys were not dangerous and that they also comply with current safety and environmental standards. This is not the first time Kellogg's has had to recall a breakfast cereal toy. 10. Ironon Patches, Honeycombs. In theory, becoming the cool kid in school by ironing breakfast cereal patches all over your clothes was a good idea for the fashion-forward children of the world. But you know that, if a prize involves a child operating a hot iron in order to get the final product, the results could be potentially disastrous. You're basically asking for trouble. Apparently, Honeycomb still thought iron-on patches were a good idea though, even if the risk of a child suffering from second or third degree burns was relatively high. Luckily for Post Foods, there were no actual reports of children ever injuring themselves with these patches, but perhaps they should have chosen a more age-appropriate prize. Like their classic honeycomb watch that children rocked on playgrounds everywhere back in the 80s-90s. Do you remember those? 11. Slap Bracelets. If you were a kid of the 90s, you probably remember the fun you had, well, slapping these bracelets onto your wrist. Sure, the slap sound may have startled you, but these bracelets weren't actually dangerous, were they? Actually, it turns out that they were, landing themselves on several most dangerous kids' toys of all time lists, although they were never actually part of any recalled cereals. The bans have now been banned at schools, and various injuries have surfaced over the years. They became especially problematic after knockoffs with cheap metal were being used, which had sharp edges. In 2011, an even darker incident occurred. A Florida school ended up giving out snap bracelets to reward its students for their fundraising efforts. But the school chose the knockoff version to cut costs, which had nude pictures underneath. It turns out that these snap bracelets weren't so innocent after all, much to the dismay of those parents. 12. Glowing Dinosaurs, Fruity Pebbles. The glow-in-the-dark stegosauruses that came in boxes of both Fruity and Cocoa Pebbles were a classic breakfast cereal toy. You might even remember the Cocoa Pebbles commercial advertising this toy. They were part of a good breakfast. Out of all of the breakfast cereal toys out there, these are probably ones that you remember. Kellogg's hit it out of the park with this one with their little dinosaurs that glowed in the dark from the inside. They were a delight to children everywhere, even if you didn't regularly tune into the Flintstones, although that certainly added to the appeal. While these toys did never result in any injuries, or were never recalled, if you think about it, these dinosaurs could have posed a choking risk to children. They were relatively small, so it is surprising that there were never any complaints associated. 13. Tiny Pokemon Toys, Pokemon Cereal. Do you remember this classic breakfast cereal toy? It was just a limited time offer, but back in the 90s, Kellogg came out with a Pokemon-themed cereal that had a small plastic Pokemon toy in each box. Luckily, no one ever had to go hunt for a Pokémon in a small child's body, but these toys were small enough, and more than a little risky for children under 3 years of age. The choking risk was definitely there, which is why it is kind of unbelievable that no one was ever injured, especially with Kellogg's less than stellar track record. With the Pokémon craze currently sweeping across the globe, they should bring these back today, but just tweak them so that they are a little bigger in size. They'd be a hit with children and adults alike. 14. Degenerate singing mouse. What could be more innocent than a cute mouse singing Christmas carols? As it turns out, this mouse was a bit saucy, and not so innocent after all. In perhaps one of the funniest recalls ever, a toy mouse singing Jingle Bells was recalled after people claimed that the mouse was actually singing Petaflip. We don't mean to offend you, but that is kind of hilarious. And no, this toy did not come in a cereal box, but it's too funny not to mention. The distributor for the toy said that this probably had to do with the fact that the person providing the voice for the toy couldn't pronounce certain words. This was compounded by the fact that the voice was sped up and the pitch was increased. Too bad these were recalled, otherwise we might have to buy a couple just for the laughs. 15. Metal Fragments, Wheaties. Now, back to the metal fragments. When we say metal fragments, we do mean to say that they are microscopic and are meant to make the breakfast cereal more nutritious. By adding this to the cereal, they can claim that the iron content is a lot higher. But the fact that this cereal is supposed to be nutritious is in question and also misleading. Do you really want your children eating breakfast cereal that can be picked up by magnets? Probably not.